In KSS Chapter 2, we learned about the emergence of the state of Kuwait. In Section 2, we learned about the Al Sabah family. And in Section 3 today, let us learn about the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. In this lesson, we will learn how the Iraqi troops entered Kuwait and they attacked Kuwait. And let us learn and understand more about the lesson to see the consequences faced as a result of this invasion. Listen attentively as we proceed with the lesson. Introduction. The world was shocked on 2nd August 1990 when the Iraqi army of the previous regime invaded. Students, regime means a government, especially an authoritarian one, and invaded it means to enter a country by force with large number of soldiers in order to take possession of it. The Iraqi army unlawfully entered the country, killing innocent men and women. The invasion was sudden and extremely violent. The state of Kuwait closed its borders and asked the British force from Bahrain to protect them. In October 1963, Iraq declared its recognition of Kuwait as an independent sovereign state. Sovereign means a supreme ruler, especially a monarch or a king. The Iraq invasion in Kuwait was sudden, fierce, bloody, destructive, and inhuman. Why did the Iraqi regime invade? The Iraqi regime spread many false claims that it had historical rights to the state of Kuwait. This was untrue for the following reasons. 1. There is no historical evidence of Kuwait's affiliation to Basra or to the Ottoman rule in Iraq. 2. Kuwait has been recognized as an independent state since its foundation at the beginning of the 18th century. 3. Kuwait has been an independent state since 1961 and a member of both the Arab League and the United Nations. 4. Iraq was one of the countries that recognized the state of Kuwait as an independent state, with sovereign rights over its territories and established political relations with it. The steadfastness of the Kuwaiti people. In spite of the violent acts of the Iraqi army against the peaceful citizens of Kuwait, the Kuwaiti people didn't surrender. They didn't allow occupation of their country. This was shown through acts of civil disobedience, including many peaceful marches which filled the street of Kuwait demanding the return of their rightful leader and the sovereign rule. Armed resistance. Kuwaitis founded a local armed resistance movement following the Iraqi occupation of Kuwait. Most of the Kuwaitis who were arrested, tortured, and executed during the occupation were civilians. Within the few weeks of the invasion, the Kuwaitis began participating in mass action of non-violent resistance. Civil disobedience. Kuwaitis refused to obey certain laws by the invaders. They refused to send their children to school, change their car number plates, resume their previous jobs. They worked secretly to provide money, food, and water to the needy, working in bakeries to make their own bread. They did not support the Iraqi army. The support of the Kuwaitis abroad. Many Kuwaitis happened to be abroad during the time of the invasion. Led by the late ruler of Kuwait, Sheikh Jabir Al Ahmed Al Sabah group were formed in many countries to free Kuwait from the Iraqi tyranny. Jeddah Popular Conference. This was held on the 13th to the 15th of October 1990 under the leadership of late Sheikh Jabir Al Ahmed Al Sabah. People wanted the rightful ruler and the sovereignty and its right to independence. The stance of Gulf, Arabic, Islamic and other international countries. Countries throughout the world supported Kuwait's right to freedom and condemned the Iraqi invasion. The Arab League held a meeting condemning the invasion and the Arab member states voted against it. Arab countries decided to help Kuwait and put their armed forces under the leadership of what called the coalition forces to free Kuwait. Desert Storm, the war to free Kuwait. For the first time in history, all the members of the United Nations unanimously agreed on one issue: to stand by one of its members, Kuwait. On the 17th January, the coalition forces began the Operation Desert Storm against the Iraq armed forces. The Iraqi forces collapsed under the air and land attacks. The Iraqis withdrew, leaving their tanks and arms. On 26 February, the Kuwait forces raised the Kuwaiti flag to free Kuwait. It is marked as a day of celebration every year. Victory was achieved thanks to the bravery of the coalition forces and the courage of the soldiers of Kuwait.